Hey traders, checking in on the stock market today. Overall, broader market got a bit of a bounce going, but rejected from resistance. The attention and the action was in some small specialized sectors: uranium, cannabis, psychedelics. We'll check them out. All right, so we'll start with the S&P 500. We had an hourly channel that we were watching on the futures chart heading into the morning. We got a bull break, a back test, and a hold, and now the bulls are attempting to get a daily bounce going. So we started the morning with a little bit of back and forth, unsure action in the first 15 minutes, and then all major sectors, QQQ, XLF, XLV, IWM, all hit the high of the day at the same time. And we need to treat that as we do to the downside. It is definitely notable, and so we can trust the bulls more when that happens. It's more believable. If that happens, the probability that we get bullish follow through is higher than if it's only one or two major sectors hitting the high of the day at the same time. So pay extra attention to when that happens, because it gives us clues. Yes, there's times where it's a bit of a fake out, where it lacks follow through, but that is less often the case. Then from there, we rejected from the high of yesterday resistance. So the broader market is still range bound, but there was tons of volatility and tons of action in the smaller sectors, which we'll go over here in just a moment. But as I mentioned in the intro there, those names are where there was a ton of opportunity and nice follow through from the video yesterday, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So S&P 500, SPY, where do we stand? We have a tightening hourly range, and we're looking for a bull break of 415.11 and 415.42 to try and get the daily bounce going, keeping in mind that we will just be watching for anything under 431.73 to be a daily lower high. We're going to be watching what the bounce retracement size looks like. It's a stair-step pattern. We've set a lower high. I mean, we went from a higher low every day, 5 days in a row here on the last leg up, and now we've got a lower high every day, 6 days in a row. So bulls have to break that for a short-term momentum shift, and then we'll be keeping an eye on gaps and things like that, but still just taking it one time frame at a time. And if the hourly does not break, I don't care about the daily, so I'm focused on the hourly in the short term. The NASDAQ, very similar. So we had a bit of a channel. I'm not going to draw it again. It pretty much looked exactly like the one I just showed you on the S&P 500 futures, but we rejected from resistance here as well. So we look at QQQ, and there was a nice bear trade here today, but we look at QQQ, high of yesterday, 317, and we rejected by 13 cents. When you are taking a trade and you're using indicators and chart overlays, whatever you're using, the more things you have aligning, telling you to take a trade, the higher the probability. And that means maybe use a larger position size. Maybe you have more conviction. But a rising wedge on the 2-minute time frame, if you just give me that with no additional information, that's a low probability. Well, it's a whatever probability, X probability. If it is a 2-minute rising wedge anticipating an hourly lower high, the probability that it's going to confirm goes up. If it's a 2-minute rising wedge anticipating an hourly lower high, testing the high of yesterday resistance, the probability it's going to confirm goes up. If it is a 2-minute rising wedge, hourly downtrend, testing the high of yesterday resistance, and the 5-minute RSI is above 70 when in a downtrend, it increases probability. So this was a really nice rising wedge right into that resistance level. We then rolled over and pulled back a solid amount into hourly consolidation. So you look at this and say, yeah, big whoop on that pullback, but that 7.75% pullback with the leveraged ETF is over 2%. So just grabbing up 1% of that move is definitely worthwhile, and not even needing to nail the top and the bottom to do so. So that was a nice bear trade. That's really the only bear trade that stood out to me today. I think it's one of the only bear trades I took today. Other than that, it was a lot of bullish action. And let's now go into those sectors, and then we'll jump around here a little bit into the main sectors to wrap it up. But yesterday in the video, I went over the setup for the hype names, the pump and dump names. They pump, they dump, they drop off the volume. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, it's worth going back and looking at the setups and then watching how they played out today, just because it's a little bit of a lesson in how these setups often go. And these setups happen, a couple times every year or however long. So we'll start with BBBY. And we had a bit of a news catalyst pre-market or after hours yesterday that led to this. And again, we know the volume drops off. We know a volume spike is coming. We look for the bounce. Even a weak bounce, we look for 20%. And so on this one, the weak bounce was 40%. There wasn't much opportunity unless you're trading in extended hours. But that was enough. I didn't trade BBBY today. That was enough of a clue to tell me watch the other names. And so the other name that I mentioned was MNMD, and the 30-minute falling wedge. The volume disappeared yesterday. We're back testing and holding daily EMA 12 resistance, and we spike up, volume, big spike, and we go plus 15% in 10 minutes. 17% in 10 minutes. So that's the move that I was looking for as far as the 30-minute falling wedge breaking bull, daily higher low is set. And so I had nibbled a starter position for this play, and I was sitting there watching this equilibrium, and I'm kicking myself a little bit, can't get too greedy, but I was going to double my position size and filled out the order and just didn't press the button. And the reason was it's a really strong market day. Well, no, it wasn't. It was a strong market day with all major sectors hitting the high of the day at the same time. Again, we're tightening up sideways here at 11 a.m. And at that point in time, Canadian cannabis, which we'll look at in just a second, was breaking out notably. Uranium was breaking out notably. Energy names were still strong. All our major sectors have been hitting the high of the day for an hour at this point. And I'm looking there, and I even typed out in the chat room, and I didn't hit enter because it was right as the break took place, but I typed out, MNMD, this is the day to do it. This is the day to get your volume spike. Where you at, bulls? And then they showed up real quick. So kicking myself a little bit for not adding that position, but I was scaling out like a madman, selling instantly into this pop. Why? Because if you give me 15, 17% in 10 minutes, I'm taking that every single time. What if it goes up to 30%? Doesn't matter to me. I'm not going broke if I'm taking 15% in 10 minutes. So I was rapidly scaling out there, 928, 933, 914, and we did end up pulling back very significantly. And another reason why I was rapidly selling off my position was, if you remember yesterday in the video, what I talked about was even the pumps. I was highlighting the pumps in BKKT that gave it back. 50% pump, gave it back. 50% pump, gave it back. So I don't want to be in the spot where it gives it back. And it gave back a lot of it. Still an hourly uptrend. It's not game over for this move. But it was just, again, if it's that fast and that big a gain, I will take some off every single time. And in this instance, I took off 75% very quickly. So that went well. Just a nice example, a little trade review from yesterday into today as to what to potentially look for on that kind of setup. Other names that stood out today. So cannabis is catching attention. CGC had attention this past week, pulled back with the broader market. Inside bar yesterday, a little bit of relative strength. And then a big bull break today on volume. And so we were up today double-digit percent. And this is putting the recent high back in play, which is a great sign for the bulls. We'll see if we can get there. If not, we'll look for a tightening daily range. But a big, strong move here. Hourly time frame, trying for the bull flag. So support of 382. And if you compare CGC, we'll just go down the list real quick. This is easily the lead Canadian cannabis bull. If you're watching this sector, because this is what CGC looks like, and we've gone up 100% in the past, or since the bottom. TLRY, how does the daily look? Way different. We're nowhere near the recent high. It's a potential daily bear flag still. ACB, strong day, way different. Nowhere near the high yet. Cron, same deal. And VFF. So you get the idea. CGC is standing out as the lead bull. So just keep that in mind. The way that I personally do it, some days it shifts. Some days it flip-flops. But the way that I personally do it, generally speaking, is I'll look to play the stronger name bullish when I'm scouting an hourly higher low or first 5-minute oversold conditions. And then I will look to play the other names that are weaker, bearish, if there's a top fishing setup or whatever the situation might be. Elsewhere, U.S. cannabis standing out today. And it's been a while since it has stood out. MSOS is the ETF, and we are on the verge. You can see the volume spike today, obviously the big green candle, pretty much the most bullish day that we've seen in a few weeks. And you can just feel, if you've been watching this ticker, you can just get a feel for, this is why I say that you want to watch tickers and get comfortable with them. There are some traders that jump around to where the volume is and trade tickers on a daily basis that they've never traded before. And if that works for you, great, do it. But if it doesn't, stop doing it, because you've got to get a feel for how things trade. It really helps. When I used to trade NIO very actively as a day trader, I got familiar with the character of how NIO trades, and I learned that it breaks support and resistance right before reversals often, and I changed my strategy. So rather than shorting into resistance, I would start shorting resistance breaks. And it was a completely different trading style tailored to that individual stock. And MSOS, if you've been watching it, you could just get a feel that today was different. And I could see it midday, USMJ bulls are more serious today than they have been in what seems like a couple of weeks. And at that point in time, it wasn't a notably significant day. The end of the day is where it really put an exclamation point on things. We were still under resistance at that point. But again, you could just tell the way that it was trading. And what do I mean by that? I mean by bid support, watching the bid support on the way up. I mean watching how it reacts to the broader market hourly consolidation. And those are just little clues that when you watch it on a daily basis, you start to, again, you get to know it. So the bull break of 1232 was great. And we are on the verge of this being the first weekly uptrend. Again, look at this massive downtrend. And this is the first weekly uptrend. If we break 13, we still need a few more percent here. But if we break 13, it's the first weekly uptrend since all-time highs, which means it's the first weekly uptrend in a year and a half. And so the character of the chart would be shifting. And so we're going to be watching very closely for how many more days the bulls can put together like this. Pretty much want to see that volume remain consistent as long as possible, because that volume is going to be what propels us above 13 here. And again, it's now the end of August, September, October, voting season. And just keeping an eye on if the bottoms are in, which every leg up that we see, the probabilities increase very significantly of the bottoms being in heading into the voting season for both psychedelics and for US cannabis. CMPS, psychedelics, the bottom is in heading into voting season. We'll look at that in just a moment. But another factor today for MSOS was MSOX is now a 2 times, it's the wrong ticker. But it's a 2 times leveraged ETF that just started trading today. And so keeping an eye on this as well. And I do think that potentially had an impact. The volume's still not significant. It's still under $1 million, but it's only the first day. So I'm watching this for the next week, how much volume comes in. Because if we can start seeing a couple $1 million traded a day here, I mean, definitely want to see the first day in instrument trades do well. And the fact that this is up 15% on the first day, 14%, is getting some attention. So there's this new instrument now. And again, the volume, probably $500,000 traded, but only day one. And we remember how slow MSOS started before its ramp up in volume took place when it began trading. So just another thing to be keeping an eye on. And for you leverage lovers, I won't trade it. I would rather use 2 times the position size in MSOS. The reason being, I don't trade anything with gaps on a 5-minute time frame. It's just against my religion. So worth keeping an eye on. As far as individual names, GTBIF is very clearly the lead bull. I was keeping an eye on that, which we broke bullish from. And again, look at it at this point. We're close to 100% off the low. I guess it's more like 85%. No, not even close. Bad math. 62%. 772. 65% off the lows. And if we look at GTBIF divided by MSOS to see relative strength, we can see this is the strongest it has ever been comparative to the ETF. And if we just compare it to some of the other individual names, TCNF is still range bound. Nice day today, but we're still range bound. We got to get over 14. And Curaleaf is also not breaking the high. We got a triple top in the 640s that has to break for bulls to prove anything. And CRLBF, range bound still. So we got one name leading the way, and if these other range bound names can break bull, we're going to look for MSOS to go up towards 14. So keeping an eye on these individual names. And again, this volume needs to keep up. This volume is key. And that is why we stood out strong today, is because the bulls brought the volume. So paying attention to this sector a bit more. We've got the psychedelic space, CMPS. And before we even started weekly consolidation, I was saying in some of the sector-specific videos that I put out over the prior weekends, Best case scenario on weekly consolidation is a back test and hold of these EMAs, and CMPS is doing a beautiful job at that at this point. And bulls, in my opinion, will be looking to buy next daily consolidation. So wherever we top out on this move, we're going to look for a daily higher low, and bulls will be looking to play off of 1508 support. And if we confirm the daily trend change, the weekly bull flag increases probability. And if we break 1508, that's a red flag and we stop out. So keeping an eye out for a daily higher low next pullback. Uranium. So talking about the CCJ relative strength in the market videos the last couple of days. Today it exploded to the upside. And just like that, you blink and our 8-month weekly equilibrium is breaking bull. And there's some news catalysts here. Japan going back to uranium, and there's Iran stuff going on. And of course, you got the Europe electricity and energy crisis. And so there is a spotlight on uranium. And again, just a massive day today. And in 3 days, we have gone up 24%. And so we need to follow through, but we are very extended. We'll look for an hourly high or low. We're going to watch the hourly and the daily uptrend, and bulls want to take out 28.28 and 32.49 to quickly head back into breakout mode. We still need a daily uptrend. That has not happened yet, but it's on back burner watch now. First 5-minute oversold conditions looking for an hourly high or low. First hourly oversold conditions looking for a daily high or low. So very quickly, euphoria creeping into this space. U is another one. Higher risk and higher reward. It has not broken bull. CCJ divided by UUU. Again, you can compare individual names and say, which name in this sector should I be trading as a bull? And this chart shows me that CCJ is weakening comparative to UUUU. So there are bigger gains the last couple of days in the smaller cap, more volatile name. So pretty much today is affirming my close attention and honing in my attention on these sectors, uranium, psychedelics, and cannabis in the short term. And everything that they did today was without the help of the broader market. They had a little bit of help from the broader market on the morning to at least relieve the concerns about another leg down. But, I mean, we're not even starting a daily bounce in SPY and QQQ yet, and this is what these sectors did without that help. So that's a good sign as well. We got a long video. We got to speed it up here. Semiconductors, still sideways, trying to build a base of support down in the 225s and 226s. Have to see an hourly trend change back to the bulls. NVDA earnings after hours right now. Bearish reaction. Not a massive bearish reaction. We're right now just below the low of the day. But it's not a bullish reaction. 167.24 is being tested in this tightening range. So that's going to be a key support level tomorrow. Tesla started the morning strong and then shifted into a sell-off. And so we're watching for the potential of a daily lower high, and we're watching to see, does Tesla sell off on the forward split tomorrow like Amazon sold off on its forward split a couple months ago? And if the answer is going to be yes, the bears want to take out 858.89 support. But a nice tightening range here. And if you go to Tesla divided by QQQ, you can see that we started the morning strong comparatively, and then it just faded all day. So keeping a close eye on that Tesla tightening range. Financial sector, not getting its daily bounce going. Again, it bounced with everything else today, but did not break 34.40. It's technically still not in an hourly uptrend. So best case for bulls tomorrow, break the highs of today on all these sectors to confirm hourly trend changes, to get daily bounces going, and to ideally help these smaller sectors keep that momentum going. Healthcare, inside bar, double bottom at the low of yesterday. Again, got to see that bull break over the high of today tomorrow for the daily bounce to be underway. And IWM, sideways the last 3 days. Its bounce is a bit more developed, as you can see. We broke the high of Monday yesterday. We broke the high of today, of yesterday today. We're not getting much follow through because the broader market is not doing it, but IWM is leading a little bit, and XBI is definitely leading. Relative strength yesterday. Nice solid hourly continuation move today. Anything above the low of today is an hourly high or low next consolidation. Keeping an eye out to see if a lower high compared to 95.18 is shaping up here. But that all depends on how much bounce the broader market gets before we top out, because we've got a head start. We've got a 2-day bounce underway when SPY and QQQ don't have a daily bounce underway yet. So nice to see. I mean, the names that stood out with relative strength Monday have carried it through yesterday and again today. The exception being Tesla after the first 30 minutes of trading today, but stood out yesterday. So what if you're a bear, you're hoping for a daily bounce. You want a daily bounce to set that lower high, because if the bears are going to affirm their control and shift us back into some fear, we need to confirm a daily downtrend and see this weekly consolidation retracement size not be a bull flag. So that's what a bear is hoping for. What else we got? Energy keeping it going. Oil inventory report reaction. We had a megaphone making it a choppy, volatile mess. How did that end up? Really well. I was recognizing it down here, and to just see it continue to play out was great. We've got up at the highs here, so nice recovery. Keeping oil and energy strong. And so CVX still creeping up to 163.18. Broke it, not much follow through, but this is a good sign. We're taking out 1, 2, and now our third resistance level, following through exactly as the bulls wanted to see. OXY keeping its breakout going. It's testing, I called it the all-time highs yesterday. It's all-time highs adjusted for dividends. So if you have a company that's dishing out a significant amount of dividends over a decade, they're artificially knocking their price down. So if you unadjust for the dividends, the all-time high is 113, and we need another 50% to get there. But I adjust for dividends. And the reason I adjust for dividends, I wouldn't call this blue sky breakout if it breaks these levels, but it would definitely be a notable resistance break for me. And again, it's just because it's artificial changes in price are the reason that we are not up at the all-time high right now. Because again, if you dish out a dividend, your stock price drops that day to adjust for it. What else we got? Dollar. Keep an eye on the dollar. The dollar is going to give us some nice information before the end of the week. And Friday we got Powell and whatever he's going to say about whatever. One of our Chart Guys members was fishing in the area, Wyoming, wherever it is, and passed him on a boat. Powell fishing in the back. He got a picture. It's really funny. So the dollar 4-hour is a tightening range here. And how this breaks is going to be key. If this breaks bear, it's a more convincing double top rejection. Granted, we could just form a quick daily high or low and then break, but at least it gives the bears, something to rally around and something to hope for and something to watch to potentially play out. But if we hold this 4-hour support, it's a 12-hour cup and handle. This is a bull flag at the moment. So the bears have to break 108.07. Let's just call it 108. Bears have to break 108 for the broader stock market to have some confidence in some bounce follow through, for the metals to have some confidence in some bounce follow through, for crypto. So at the moment, we had gold confirm the 4-hour uptrend and lose it very quickly. And now we're chopping around a bit here. And this looks like a megaphone as well. Again, whenever it's not clear, for me at least, it's usually a megaphone. Because it's lower lows with no follow through, higher highs with no follow through. So this is still a potential daily bear flag. And the bulls are really hoping for a dollar bear break and the stock market to start a bounce to help the metals get some bounce follow through as well. Silver, daily inside bar, it's a bear flag. The burden is on bulls to prove to us that this is not a bear flag. Miners, same thing, pretty much a daily inside bar. Natural gas, battling to try and hold on to the daily uptrend. If we lose the daily uptrend, it will be showing us a bit of some bull exhaustion, because that'll be a weekly bull break straight into consolidation. So key daily support here of 892, and keeping an eye on this for the potential impact it may have on the energy sector XLE, but also got to be cautious of a head and shoulders if we do hold the daily uptrend, at least initially. All right, that's a lot of talking. There's a lot going on in these smaller specialized sectors. That's it. Hope you had a good day. Do good things. letting all the flowers go to seed and just drop in their place and hoping that this slowly transforms into a bunch of wildflowers. You can see from last year, these are all flowers that are seeding next to them. That's going to be the game plan. Let's see how far we can spread the flowers just by letting them do their thing. Eucalyptus plant I planted maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months. Doing real well. There's more figs. Man, I lucked out because I haven't been looking for them the last 4 or 5 days. There's a few that are getting ready. Cardinal flowers are blooming. The butterflies and the hummingbirds like those. And the jewelweed is also flowering. Jewelweed likes it being wet. And this spot of the yard gets, that's the jewelweed. But this part of the yard gets the runoff from the back patio there. There's a pipe that brings it down and it hits the driveway and then comes here towards the... That was not by design, but that water hitting this compost pile likely keeps the breakdown fast. We'll pretend I did it intentionally. So when I went to get seeds, where I planted in all the garden there for the fall stuff, they didn't have any kale seeds. And I remembered that I let all this kale go to flower. And so these are just all kale seeds. So I'll just go plant these in the garden.